little far away from the lake there, no? Wet and rainy day today. I think most of the animals are probably gonna stay under the trees and stuff, except for things like the ducks and all that. Although I guess here, the virus is shutting down some schools and stuff like that apparently with a scare. And this one says 2 post-secondary schools closing in Vancouver over presumptive case of COVID-19, which is the coronavirus. University Canada West on West Pender said it is working with the Vancouver Coastal Health Authority to verify a report a student has a presumptive case of novel coronavirus. The school says 2 students are in quarantine. The student with the presumptive case was visited by her father, who had positively tested for COVID-19 after traveling overseas, according to UCW. The other student in quarantine is a potentially infected student's roommate. As a precautionary measure, the school is suspending all on-campus classes until a full disinfection of the campuses has taken place, which includes a deep clean of all public and back office areas. Students and staff who may have been in close contact with the affected students have been identified and contacted with information and advice. And to my knowledge, there was also an 80-plus-year-old or something like that in the hospital being treated, so it makes you wonder if we're gonna have all that huge shutdown scare and everything like that. Can you imagine a city, an area like this, basically becoming like a ghost town? It's like something you see right in the movies, huh? I'm personally not panicking, but I know there's a lot of people here who they're basically doing everything they can, I guess, in preparation in case they get it. I mean, at this point, from the sounds of it anyways, it basically is like a flu to a certain extent, correct? Where there's no cure and anything like that, and from the news I read, it can be cured, I guess, naturally, just through rest and all that, and assuming you have a healthy diet, etc, etc. So I think I remember reading a story too where they said there was actually a family, like in China or something like that, where everyone was infected, including like their daughter, like the younger one, but apparently she didn't feel any effects of it. It was mostly, I guess, the older people. I suppose it has to do with things like immune system and stuff too. So yeah, I don't know how you can really avoid it other than, you know, clean your hands and everything like that as usual, correct? And I guess with things like drone regulations, all that FAA remote ID stuff, still waiting to see what I guess the final result's gonna be. How about these for headlines? Drones can crash planes or enact terrorism, FAA fears. Pilots say new rules would ruin their hobby. And then they go with a lot of these stories and examples, which actually to my knowledge, none of these were 100% verified. It says, it was an otherwise routine flight until at an altitude of about 1,100 feet east of the city's downtown. The crew aboard the news chopper heard a loud bang. The pilot and I just looked at each other. What was that? Reporter Chris Christie of KABC TV remembers thinking. This is the one where again they assumed it was a drone, but then there was actually no proof. And it says there was no blood or feathers as if they had hit a bird. The most likely cause was a drone. The National Transportation Safety Board said it's awaiting results from a lab before it can confirm a drone was involved. So because of all this, I guess that's why they're saying they need remote ID and stuff. It says, alarmed at their rising numbers, 1.6 million drones and 167,841 registered operators in the US, the Federal Aviation Administration is trying to institute tougher rules that will allow authorities to identify drones and their operators more quickly. The plan, however, has gotten flack from hobbyists and some professional drone operators. They say the Fed's plan is too far-reaching and that many of the existing model aircraft and drones can't meet the requirements. And then the last category, of course, I guess people using it for criminal purposes. It's the last category that causes some of the biggest worries nationally. Even small recreational drones sold online can be rigged to carry crude bombs. 2 drones carrying plastic explosives were launched in what was believed to have been an unsuccessful assassination attempt against Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and other officials 2 years ago. I mean, in general, you can use anything as a weapon in that case. I mean, generally speaking, like what? Didn't some of the bomb people, so to speak, use things like a rice cooker or something like that, and they put like a bunch of metal stuff in there and blew it up essentially? I mean, people can use anything in that case. To me personally, it just sounds like it's lazy lawmaking, as I mentioned before. Like you're just rushing it like, oh, we just gotta put something out there. It says opponents say the rules at worst could ground many of today's drones, requiring operators to buy new ones. For many, they warn it could kill the hobby. And here it says, but the FAA said it had to act, saying, quote, as a pilot, "My eye is always on safety first," said FAA Administrator Steve Dixon in a statement when the new rule proposal was introduced, saying, quote, "Safety is a joint responsibility between government, pilots, the drone community, the general public, and many others." It made me think of a couple of things there. Yes, it's kind of like a joint collaboration of everyone, but at the same time, it has to be a joint collaboration of everyone in particular industries, in particular, I guess, ways of use of this tech. Like for example, with the drone, if all you do is focus on huge commercial operations with drone deliveries and stuff, you're basically completely ignorant and ignoring everyone who does it for fun as a hobby, for example. And the idea of safety first, I mean, generally speaking, everyone would agree. Obviously, you want to do it in a way where no one's going to be harmed, you do it responsibly, but it should be more about doing what's the most reasonable and practical way that's in the best interest of everyone overall. Because if you just say safety first, it would be like me using an example of, let's just say you have a really horrible, I don't know, transportation minister or whatever, and their job is to make it safe in terms of cars, it's brand new. It's like their idea of, say, safety first, protecting the public is to make it so ridiculous and ludicrous where no one's gonna be able to drive a car in general unless you're driving like a huge truck. It needs to be tracked, etc., etc. So you'll have no regular, daily, average individual driving like the car. It'll be only big corporations. In my opinion, that's really bad governing, so to speak, because you're basically just focusing on one aspect, not what's in the best interest of everyone, like in the public in general, and how they use it. It makes me think of like the story yesterday I read, the one about the school that had to go through like what, those 300 plus page documents just to be able to fly a drone to teach students and so forth, like how to build one, test it out. Can you imagine if that was the case even with making like, say, really tiny electric vehicles, like a school will make it for a project where students try to innovate? You're telling me like with that, they'll need to be regulated in every way as if they need like a driver's license, as if they're driving on the road and all that? I mean, it needs to be a balance in that sense on how people use it. It makes me think if the whole issue is just in general, it's because they keep classifying all this stuff as if it is like an aircraft, like a full-blown one, which I think it shouldn't be the case. It should depend more on what you're using and how you're using it overall. There must be like baby duck eggs all around here somewhere. It's just like last year, that's what I learned. When the ducks are on the trail like that, they probably hit it somewhere and then they come out looking for food afterwards. Okay, I don't need a thermal camera for that. I can actually smell the coyote around here. Wouldn't be surprised if it was stalking those ducks actually. Doesn't look like the rain's gonna stop. Huh, I guess it's time for the archive. Alright, see you guys later.